Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're tuning into AMTV, hard-hitting and in your face, live. 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific time, 1 to 2 p.m. Arizona time. You're tuning in live on YouTube. You're also tuning in live on Facebook. Welcome. Got some big stories for you today. Our major headline, Donald Trump, election rigged. Wow, this is such a surprise, isn't it? The election's rigged. Has there been a guy talking about this for over a year and a half? Actually going back probably 10 years, if you include all the countless videos we put out to the viewing public, totaling over 2,000 plus videos. Of course, this bullshit election is rigged. Of course, the two-party paradigm is rigged. It's a total illusion. It's total political theater. And we're going to dig into this today. Of course, we got back a couple of weeks ago from Freedom Fest. We had some incredible interviews. Sit-down interview with Steve Forbes lasted about an hour. Absolutely amazing interview, I thought. Headliners like Peter Schiff, Doug Casey, Gary Johnson, Don King, George Foreman, many, many others. In fact, we have an interview coming up exclusively for our on-demand subscribers with Grover Norquist. Be releasing that in the next couple of days, but you have to subscribe on demand. You have to support us at amtvmedia.com. Click the on-demand button, subscribe at $4.95 a month, $49.95 a year. Also, wanted to mention, we just got some new AMTV t-shirts. Check them out. We got a few dozen at the store, various colors. I'll put a link in the description box. If you're watching on Facebook, buy a t-shirt. Do it right now. If you're watching on your computer, open up a new tab, get a shirt. Hard-hitting and in your face. If you're watching on YouTube, buy a shirt now. We've got a host of great products, food storage, water filters, survival gear, and much more. And we can't do this without you folks. So Donald Trump basically is saying that this election is rigged. Now, I talked about this 24 hours ago. I talked about this even a year ago, year and a half ago. In fact, we pulled this footage yesterday in the video that we just put out on Khazar Khan, which it's a con job. I'm going to talk about this later in today's broadcast. Bernie Sanders was always working for Hillary Rodham Clinton. This is what people don't get. Bernie Sanders was always working for her. He has always been a part of this establishment narrative to give Americans the idea and the impression that they actually have a voice, that there's some kind of socialist vacuum, even though Hillary Rodham Clinton is just as much of a socialist as Bernie friggin' Sanders. Always working for Hillary Rodham Clinton. It's why he endorsed her, and people were up in arms at the DNC. Now Donald Trump is talking about how this election is rigged. And we're going to get into this today in a lot of detail. Trump says we are going to punch through the media. Donald Trump hits the media, particularly CNN, calling it the Clinton News Network. Isn't it interesting that Donald Trump mentions that he's going to hit the media? I almost thought he was going to pull Bill O'Reilly on us and tell the viewing public and the millions tuning in around the world that he was hard-hitting and in your face. By the way, for those of you that have asked, that is still pending. We saw them take down the hard-hitting and in your face off the main website, but it's still on the program guide, and so that's kind of a pending thing. I'll keep you posted on that. In fact, we even ran into some subscribers in Las Vegas. Said, "Hey, Christopher, great to see you, man. F Bill O'Reilly for stealing your registered trademark in the name of hard-hitting and in your face." Again, it's why we need your support. It's why we need you guys to subscribe on demand at $4.95 a month, $49.95 a year. Also get a t-shirt at our store, store.amtvmedia.com, and other gear. Support what we're doing. It's not easy. It's not easy going to Freedom Fest. Getting headline interviews, sit-down interviews with people like Steve Forbes and others, people like Rand Paul, asking difficult questions, people like Dinesh D'Souza. Again, a host of interviews at Freedom Fest. Pretty darn amazing, entirely supported by you that support us on demand. And again, we need your support. So Donald Trump labels the media, and most importantly CNN, as the Clinton News Network at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania Monday night. He says, "We have a media, folks, that is so dishonest. These are among the most dishonest people you will ever meet." And he goes on. These people, you know, I've had days where I've said, boy, this was a great day. I'll look forward to seeing it tonight or tomorrow. And it's brutal. And I say, what happened? We are going to punch through the media. We have to. The New York Times is totally dishonest, he reemphasizes. The Washington Post has been a little bit better lately, but not good. By the way, the New York Times, which is failing badly, I call it the failing New York Times. Every story that they write is a hit job. Donald Trump, I couldn't agree more. It's why we have alternative media. It's why people like you support what we do, to get the truth out, to cut through the bullshit of the establishment narrative, a multi-billion-dollar narrative. The budget at Fox News, a multi-billion-dollar budget. The budget at CNN, a multi-billion-dollar budget. This is what we're competing with, folks, and it is not easy. So let's talk about the fact that a lot of people have come to the conclusion, this is the speculation, that Donald Trump is a plant and that he's always been working for Hillary Rodham Clinton from day one. You know, you've seen the famous picture with him and his wife speaking with the Clintons. They're smiling, they're all jovial, this kind of thing. That he's just a plant, he's just a disruptor. So at the end of the day, they can hand Hillary Rodham Clinton the election. Now, although I would say it's great to think critically like that, and it's a good thought to extrapolate upon, and I've thought about it intensely, vigorously. I mean, believe me, I've thought about it. I, honest to God, don't think that that is the case. I do not think that Donald Trump is a plant. I truly believe that he is a maverick and that he has ridden the wave, similarly to the wave, what became AMTV and started as Green Wave and became alternative media television because the people were demanding an honest media. People were demanding the truth. People were demanding a new narrative, a voice of the people. So we have this set up where the GOP party had a dozen or so candidates. I don't even think the GOP party knew who would be the GOP candidate. It's why they took a complete shotgun approach to who that candidate would be. People laughed at me, jeered, said that it was an impossibility that Donald Trump would be the presumptive GOP nominee, even though I said it would happen. And then all of this, of course, falls into place. So I don't think that the Republican Party knew for a minute who that candidate would be. I truly believe that Donald Trump is a maverick. I do not believe that he is a part of the political establishment. I talked about this with Luke We Are Change at Freedom Fest. I think he's a part of the corporate establishment, but he is not a part of the political rhetoric that makes up the criminals in Washington, D.C. today. It's why nobody in his party, mostly, will support him or endorse him. You didn't see Rand Paul at the GOP convention, for example. You didn't see Jeb Bush at the GOP convention. And you haven't seen people like Paul Ryan endorse Donald Trump and many others. Because the political establishment is all working against the Donald. Contrary to the Democratic Party, where Hillary Rodham Clinton had already been selected by the establishment from day one. Again, Bernie Sanders was no real competition from day one. I think they wanted to experiment a little bit with the whole idea of socialism here in the United States, even though Hillary Rodham Clinton is, in actuality, in my humble opinion, just as much of a socialist as Bernie Sanders. But I think they just kind of want to experiment with that narrative as we become more of a socialist nation, because we have to, because the eradication of jobs, the proficiency of technology, this radical revolution that makes up 5 tech monopolies in Silicon Valley. We actually had one of those tycoons, Peter Thiel, actually speak at the RNC, pretty amazing, a gay guy who actually spoke and endorsed Donald Trump. He's one of the few that actually has the guts, balls, gusto to do that. Many in Silicon Valley, if you look at Tim Cook, for example, of Apple, are completely 100% diametrically opposed to Donald Trump and think that and call him a racist, even though that's completely taken out of context. So Hillary Rodham Clinton never had real competition. Remember when they had the debates and Bernie Sanders had the opportunity to go after Hillary Clinton's jugular over the email scandal? What did he say? He said this. He said, aren't we tired, and I'm paraphrasing a little bit, of the emails? He gave the election to Hillary Clinton in the nomination right there. He proved that he was a plant, a stooge, that he wasn't for real. And I said it, you heard it here first on AMTV, that he would endorse, and that he implicitly endorsed at that very moment during the debate, Hillary Rodham Clinton for president. And then it's like some surprise. People are so surprised that Bernie Sanders, their God, their Savior, their Jesus Christ, endorsed Hillary Clinton. It's not a surprise. We knew that it was going to happen from day one. Now, I'm still hearing that, I'll call it a conspiracy theory. Maybe some of you don't like me to use that term, that Donald Trump was a plant of the Clintons. No, I don't believe that. I do believe that Donald Trump is right and then the election is rigged. It's one of the reasons I also predicted over a year and a half ago, when people weren't even talking about this, and even in recent months, that Donald Trump, although he would be the GOP nominee, would ultimately lose to Hillary Rodham Clinton. They'll make it appear, again, this is all political theater, none of this is real. It's all bullshit. It's all an illusion. The two-party system, again, is one party. They'll make it appear through this political vacuum and writing this vitriol and anger that Donald Trump's going to edge Hillary Clinton out, and it's going to be a race that's super, super, super close until it's not, and Hillary Clinton and the vote is manufactured and rigged her way to edge out Donald Trump. I think that the political establishment is using Donald Trump right now basically as a catharsis for America, so people can get their anger out. If you're tuning here in on Facebook, or you're tuning in here on YouTube, so people can basically ride the coattails of that rage against the machine. So I'll say it again, and I've said it many times before, I do not believe that Donald Trump is a plant working for Hillary and Bill Clinton, not at all. But I do think with 100% degree certainty that the political establishment is working against him. Trump says we're going to punch through the media. Obama says Trump is unfit, woefully unprepared for the presidency. Has to be a point where Republicans say enough. Now, you know, if the criminal that makes up the Obama administration, and again, Hillary Clinton was working under the nose and thumb of Barack Obama through some of the greatest challenges and insanity that the country has ever seen, working as Secretary of State while we were in the Middle East, with over 500,000 people dead. The story that I'll talk a little bit about, that I talked about yesterday, I encourage you to watch on YouTube and share it virally. Proof, Khazar Khan, Hillary plant working for the Muslim Brotherhood. He then brings that up again. Khazar Khan, Mr. Polished, the con man that, by the way, deleted his business attorney practice website just within the last 24 hours. Can you believe that? Actually deleted his website. And people want to say that this is all conspiracy theory, that people like Roger Stone are hitmen. The president implored Republicans to unendorse him and asked, what does it say about the Republican Party that Trump is their standard bearer? This isn't an episodic gaffe. This is daily and weekly, Obama said. Obama called on Republicans to repudiate and condemn the party's nominee. There has to come a point at which you say somebody who makes those kinds of statements doesn't have the judgment, the temperament, the understanding to occupy the most powerful position in the world. Again, you know, America, if Obama is raging against Donald Trump, that you should support his campaign. And you should support anything that is anti-Obama and anti-Hillary. This is the truth, folks. Trump calls Hillary Clinton the devil, goes all in on bashing Hillary, as he says Bernie Sanders made a deal with the devil by endorsing her, which I really believe. Notice how Hillary Clinton was wearing a white dress during the DNC nomination to, give the appearance that, she's here to save America and that she's truthful, even though she built her own email infrastructure and up to 2,000 plus emails on record, potentially that were classified, were leaked to America's worst, violent, most hateful enemies, enemy nations, potentially, as the mainstream media will present this to us, countries like Russia and China, or terrorist networks like the Israeli Secret Intelligence Service, ISIS, or IS, or ISIL. Donald Trump said during a Pennsylvania rally that Bernie Sanders made a deal with the devil by agreeing to endorse Hillary Clinton last week. She's the devil, he boomed. Trump isn't the first politician to go there this year. You might remember the former House Speaker John Boehner called Ted Cruz Lucifer in the flesh, which I actually think was probably a even more critical stab than simply, just calling Hillary Clinton the devil. Scumbag billionaire Warren Buffett pledges to drive voters to the polls in November. He says he's going to be doing selfies, whatever it takes, Buffett said, before introducing Hillary Clinton at a rally in Omaha, Nebraska. It just goes to show you what a scumbag Warren Buffett is. Remember him getting, his medal by Barack Obama during the height of the worst financial crisis that was engineered by these same scumbags, courtesy of Barack Obama and the banksters that he works for. The same people, by the way, that Hillary Rodham Clinton works for and takes tens of millions of dollars in speaking fees and engagements. Even Mark Cuban, who's very popular with the millennials, is pro-Hillary Rodham Clinton. Again, Peter Thiel is a maverick compared to people like Mark Cuban. Pretty amazing that Thiel would support, and kudos to him. He's actually a Bilderberger, which is really interesting there, and it'll probably bring up even more questions that you should ask, but a Bilderberger endorsing Donald Trump. Maybe the establishment is starting to move the direction of Donald Trump because they have to, and they realize that he's a freight train that cannot be stopped. It's a very real possibility. Warren Buffett criticized Donald Trump for his recent comments about a family whose son died fighting in Iraq and challenged Trump to show his tax returns at a rally in Omaha. Well, his tax returns I want to see? Warren Buffett's. I would actually like to see the tax returns from 2008 and 2009 and his increase in net worth as a result of a multi-trillion-dollar stimulus package courtesy of the American population bailing out these too-big-to-fail criminal institutions. So before Donald Trump shows the world his taxes, I think we should see Warren Buffett's taxes. A scumbag, a criminal. And there's a reason why he continues to support, endorse people like Barack Obama. He's been their biggest proponent, and people like Hillary Clinton that are just a continuation of that scam. Trump says, I'm afraid the election is going to be rigged. Following Trump's confidant, Roger Stone's allegation that Hillary Clinton might steal this election using the Supreme Court and the Reuters poll tweaks, which sent her to a 7-point lead conveniently post the DNC convention. Donald Trump is raising the alarm that he is afraid the election is going to be rigged. Now, there's kind of an interesting analysis here that if Donald Trump says the election is going to be rigged and everybody knows the election is going to be rigged, then all of his constituents will be dismayed not to actually go to the polls and vote in the first place, because if it's already rigged and it's a one-party system and it isn't a two-party system and it's just this illusory political theater, then why even show up to vote? Which kind of makes you wonder, why is Donald Trump putting this narrative out to his constituents, the voters, you, the American people? Is he doing it to protect himself, or is he actually doing it as a self-fulfilling prophecy so that if he does lose, it's just kind of a protectionist measure? Or is he using it to discourage the actual American population from actually voting in the first place? It's another very important question to ask. Just last week, before the Reuters polls were tweaked, Stone told one of the Breitbart contributors that if there is an illegitimate election, then there will be widespread civil disobedience and it will be a bloodbath. A bloodbath in the United States of America at a time when there is so much anger, There is this divide and conquer narrative being propelled by the Barack Obama administration for a reason, to divide this country so that it results, as Stone is figuring out here, widespread civil disobedience and potentially a bloodbath here in the United States of America. I think your audience knows, he said. I think we all know that in this day and age, a computer can do anything. These voter machines are essentially a computer. Who's to say they couldn't be rigged? I think we have widespread voter fraud, but the first thing that Trump needs to do is begin talking about it constantly, Stone said. This is what Stone is advising. A political hitman. I mean, he even calls himself this. He needs to say, for example, today would be a perfect example. I am leading in Florida. The polls all show it. If I lose Florida, we will know that there's voter fraud. If there's voter fraud, this election will be illegitimate. The election of the winner will be illegitimate. We will have a constitutional crisis, widespread civil disobedience, and the government will no longer be the government. What do you think? I'd like to hear your comments, questions in our feeds on YouTube and Facebook. Do you think the election will be rigged? Do you think it's already been decided? I do. I think the whole thing is absolutely manufactured. I think it's utter bullshit. It's a total lie. They're using it as an engine, again, a catharsis for the American people because they know the people are angry. They're staging the conventions, whether or not it's the DNC or the RNC. Again, it's just a movie. No different than the Netflix show House of Cards I've mentioned incessantly in recent shows because it's exactly what it is. Theater. An illusion. Your vote doesn't count. They do not give an F about you. They do not care. There is no accountability. If there was, Hillary Rodham Clinton would be in jail. Or at the very least, she would have been prosecuted by James Comey, who bent over and took it in the ass just a couple of weeks ago because he's a bitch and a lapdog to you-know-who. Who shouldn't have been wearing a white dress during the DNC convention, but should have been in a prison outfit in stripes. Maybe even here like Sheriff Joe Arpaio does, who we've interviewed time and time again. He puts you in pink prison stripes to humiliate you. Of course, Hillary Clinton would probably argue that that's sexist or something, to put both men and female in pink stripes. Get another report from CNN. Trump says, I'm afraid the election is going to be rigged. Donald Trump on Monday took his complaints about the rigged political system one step further. I'm afraid the election is going to be rigged. Rigged, rigged, rigged. He says, I have to be honest. Post-convention poll, Clinton retakes lead over Trump. Hillary Clinton emerges from her party's convention in Philadelphia with a restored lead over Donald Trump, having earned a 7-point convention bounce, conveniently, according to the new CNN ORC poll. In a two-way head-to-head matchup, Clinton tops Trump 52% to 43%, and in a four-way matchup, including third-party candidates Gary Johnson and Jill Stein, Clinton leads 45% to 37%, with Johnson at 9% and Stein at 5%. Now, I have to be honest, we interviewed Gary Johnson, a nice guy, but I was not impressed at all. And I say that humbly. I thought it was really just this is who we've got, really. This is the independent third-party ticket. We even spoke with the Libertarian Party. And again, I hate to define myself, folks. I hate to put myself in a box, say I'm this or that, Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, not, black. I mean, we always have to define ourselves. But frankly, was unimpressed by Gary Johnson. Did not think that was... It can't be the best that we got in America. And many people could say the same thing about Hillary Clinton and others running right now for the White House in 2016. Again, in a two-way head-to-head matchup, Clinton tops Trump 52% to 43%. And in a four-way matchup, including third-party candidates Gary Johnson and Jill Stein, from the Green Party, Clinton leads 45% to 37%, with Johnson at 9% and Stein at 5%. Besides improving her standing against Trump, Clinton's convention appears to have boosted the share of Americans who think her policies will move the country in the right direction from 43% before either convention to 48% now, while Trump's right direction number held roughly steady following the back-to-back political gatherings in Cleveland and Philadelphia. One thing we didn't get at the conventions was the violence that I think a lot of us thought that we would get. And it still remains a possibility. Of course, we've been seeing the terrorism ramp up, whether or not it's in Nice or it's the false flag terror attack that makes up Orlando, or any of these other attacks. We're seeing that ramp up. But it was surprising, and I think arguably a success, that we did not see, and God forbid, I'd never want to see it, any kind of violence on the ground at the conventions, probably because security was totally militaristic, totally locked down, as it was very difficult to get into the convention in the first place. And once you were in it, they just locked you into a corral, basically like a bunch of sheep. We do have the debates coming up, and notice, for example, how they've scheduled the debates to directly conflict with major NFL football games. For a reason, something that they pre-planned. You see, Hillary Clinton knows that she'll be destroyed by Donald Trump in a debate because she doesn't know what to expect. You can't game plan for Donald Trump. Again, he's a media maverick. He is the media. How can Hillary Clinton possibly prepare for the unknown? She can't. She can't prepare for the unknown. It's an impossibility. So it's exactly why she doesn't want you, the American public, tuning in. She has no advantage. In fact, I've even heard speculation, I think it might be true, honest to God, that she might not even show up at one of these debates. Maybe she'll even orchestrate some kind of illness. Maybe she'll fall down again and get some kind of concussion like she's done in the past. Maybe Bill Clinton will fall ill, Facebook. Maybe that's another possibility. You know, I could actually see in the coming weeks her and her campaign positioning Bill Clinton as suddenly falling ill so that Donald Trump conveniently cannot go after him as a serial alleged rapist, as a womanizer who's, again, these are the allegations, attacked women, who stuck cigars up the hoo-ha of Monica Lewinsky and then denied it on the stand, which is a criminal act, a felony, which should put him in pound-me-in-the-ass prison. I mean, all of this is an intricate web. Again, all of this is theater. They're 1,000 steps ahead of you. They're using the institutions, which really what they are today, the 5 big tech companies like Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, etc. This is all tightly woven. It's a part of this web that makes up the political establishment today. I mean, there's where the truth lies, folks, that the corporate establishment, the tech establishment is a part of this. Mark Zuckerberg, the most powerful man on the planet, the most powerful man in the world, folks. You know, Mr. Z spends millions of dollars in bodyguards every single year. You can, read his financial statements. They got to put this stuff out as a public company. These are the most powerful people on the planet. They control and rig the election. Even Google, when you search Donald Trump during the RNC, you couldn't even find the guy. He wasn't even a presidential candidate. When you search the presidential candidate, and who was actually speaking, he didn't even pop up. That's how much power that these companies have, these entities have. To, again, create this illusion, to create this divide that makes up this paradigm today. I mean, is this even reality? Are we not living in a dream? Is this not the rabbit hole? This psychological warfare that starts at an early age, whether or not you're a child and you're consuming mainstream boob tube television programming from Disney and cartoons are all penetrating your mind. I mean, even the little engine that could, a story that I was reading the other day, is a story about a red engine, communism, that failed, and the blue engine that could, I think I can, the engine of democracy, of Hillary Clinton, that won. You have to read your children's books before you actually read it to them because it's all brainwashing, it's all mental programming. It's the Matrix. Remember Keanu Reeves, his body just kind of in this tube? Everything an artificial reality. He could bend the reality at will. His own existence questionable. I've seen in other movies. I think the other movie that was released in 2010, I believe, was Inception. Another good film. Explores that concept. You see, all of this is political theater. Even at the DNC, there's hardcore evidence and proof of this, folks. There weren't even a lot of people there. Seats are empty, but the cameras never showed it to you. There was even a white noise speaker above the Bernie Sanders supporters so that it drowned out the Hillary for prison chants. The criminal. that makes up Hillary Rodham Clinton. Again, who should be in prison stripes, folks. Maybe here in Arizona, where she likes to visit and speak on behalf of Goldman Sachs. All of this is a total and utter illusion, folks. It's mind games. Your vote does not count. Donald Trump is right. The election is rigged. It has been from the get-go. Bernie Sanders had always endorsed and was planning on endorsing Hillary Rodham Clinton from the get-go. She had no real competition for a reason. Bernie Sanders, as much as I think he's probably a nice guy and people want to like him, was always working for them. O'Malley, nobody had even heard of. If you ask the regular Joe, John, and Jane on the street, they don't even know who that guy is because she had been selected from day one, and that's the truth. It's an illusion, folks. And this is the underground. This is AMTV. This is the anti-media. This is not MSNBC. This is not CNN. This is not Fox News. I can say whatever I want. I'm not bought and paid for. Okay, I don't have a giant corporation telling me what to do. I don't have a team of writers with teleprompters feeding me bullshit so that I can put it into your minds. Rinse it out and wash it around. Do whatever I want with it. You don't get that here. What you get here is real. It's the truth. It's scary, folks, when you dig down the rabbit hole. You see how convoluted of a web this is, and you realize and understand in its entirety that people like Khazar Khan are full of shit. A giant con job. None of it real. Notice how elegant of a speaker he was, holding his Constitution up, and his Muslim wife, not allowing her to speak. Even when it was criticized by Donald Trump, still she's not allowed to speak. He says he wants to be out of the limelight, but he's in continuous one after another interviews on CNN and other major networks. He's like, I want to be out of the limelight, but I'm going to be broadcasted across the entire world every single day. Full of shit. It's one of the reasons why he took down his website. If there's nothing wrong with what he had out there to the public, why would he take down his site, which actually showed with hardcore proof that he actually works as an attorney to bring and to help Muslim immigration into the United States, which, of course, Donald Trump's not against that at all. That's how the mainstream media takes this shit out of context. They're not against. He's not against immigration at all. He's against radical terrorists from entering the country, whether or not they're Muslim or not, and driving trucks like we saw in Nice, France, into innocent civilians, murdering, maiming, and slaughtering innocent people. That's what he's against. He's just common sense. I mean, hey, if we can't figure it out, let's at least put a temporary halt on this. You see, the radical left uses the same argument on guns all the time. Guns are killing people, so let's just get rid of them. Yet they flip on the issue when it comes to radical jihadi terrorism. And again, who gives a shit if you're Muslim or not? If you're a terrorist, that's who we want to keep out. We want to keep out terrorists. We want to keep out people killing innocents here in the United States of America, and other countries should want the same thing, whether or not you're in France, Germany, Italy, the Pigs Nations, or anywhere else on the planet. You want to prevent that from happening so that you can live in a somewhat peaceful and organized society. I talk about this with friends and family all the time. It's amazing we have any kind of organizational pull here at all, that you wake up in the morning and the sun has risen, there's not mayhem and slaughter in the streets on a daily basis. People aren't freaking out, lighting fires all over your neighborhood. It's amazing there's any kind of order. People ask me all the time, Christopher, why is the mainstream media so powerful? Why do they impregnate your mind with all these lies? Why do they want this power and control? They need it for self-enrichment, of course. People like Hillary Clinton, one thing I'd agree with Khazar Khan, not of Donald Trump, but of Hillary, she is a black soul. She is Satan, Lucifer in the flesh. They need to somehow control and organize society in a meaningful way. Again, they don't care about you at all. This has been going on for hundreds, thousands of years. Kings and queens of the past no different than the kings and queens today that make up people like Hillary Rodham Clinton running for Obama's third term, who is above the law, who can commit criminal acts just like her husband, who is absolutely and entirely a senile person right now. And Hillary Clinton, arguably, I don't think her health is that good either. Which, kind of posed a question. I put this out to the Twitter following at AMTV Media. Make sure you follow us now at AMTV Media. I mean, is 70 too old to be president of the United States? they put a minimum age on it. Why don't they put a maximum age on it? I mean, it's, again, you know, even young people, I think, would feel like they need a nap. Even if you're 35 or you're 42 or you're in your 50s, would probably need a nap mid-afternoon running the country, running as Commander-in-Chief of the United States of America. And these people are in their 70s. It's kind of amazing to think about. I mean, I think we need to go back and look at Hillary Rodham Clinton's health for a minute because it's failed awfully throughout the years. That's a legitimate concern out of the, you know, political side of it or the partisan side of it. I want to talk a little bit about Julian Assange, who I think still works for the United States government, who's always worked as a U.S. intelligence asset, which might come as a surprise to most people, but honest to God, that's who he is. He's a U.S. intelligence asset. Isn't it amazing anytime he leaks something, people are like, oh, that's the truth. It's got to be the truth because it came from Julian Assange. But they never ask the question, who is Julian Assange and who is he working for? You know, if Julian Assange was for real, he'd be dead. He wouldn't be hanging out in an Ecuadorian prison right now. He wouldn't be putting out leaks that brought down Debbie Wasserman that I would argue Hillary Clinton was probably behind herself. He wouldn't be making outlandish statements like, you know, what's coming next is going to put Hillary Clinton in jail. Well, I don't believe you at all, Julian Assange. Again, I think you work for U.S. intelligence services here in the United States, CIA, covertly, as a part of this intricate web. If you really had something, then leak it. And we'll see your in prison stripes. If not, you're full of shit. Assange says he won't say whether Russia was behind the DNC hack. That plays into the same propaganda that Hillary Clinton is pushing right now, her administration. And again, taking Donald Trump's words out of context, that somehow he made some comment that, you know, Russia should leak the emails that she deleted and, you know, burned her servers with, somehow insinuating that that meant that Donald Trump was encouraging an enemy of the United States, an enemy nation, the Russian bear, that makes up Vladimir Putin to, you know, hack private emails here in the United States and, you know, commit these acts of espionage. Absolutely ridiculous. You see, Hillary Rodham Clinton wants you to believe that. They want to, and this is what they've been doing for years now, demonizing Russia, demonizing Vladimir Putin, because of course Hillary Rodham Clinton, Rotten Clinton, wants to take out Bashar al-Assad in Syria. This is what they've been working on. This is what Benghazi Gate was. This is what the deaths of Christopher Stevens was, folks. This is what it was. Christopher Stevens is CIA liaison. Muammar Gaddafi taken out indirectly, murdered by NATO, courtesy of the United States of America. All Al-Qaeda funded and armed by the United States government and Central Intelligence, which later became ISIS. From IS to ISIL to ISIS. And they all denied it at first. Remember Barack Obama said, oh, no, we're not arming them. No, we're not doing that. No, we're not funding them. We would never do that here. I mean, you can trust us here at the White House. And then later on, as the months passed, and again, I told you this was all bullshit. I told you it was a freaking lie. I told you it was bullshit. And then months later, it was admitted by Barack Obama. It was admitted by the Pentagon, the State Department. It was confirmed by the United States, her assets and intelligence, and also the rest of the world. All of it was freaking confirmed. Christopher Stevens dead, several other Americans, people like Susan Rice lied to us. It had nothing to do with terrorism, even though it occurred on the anniversary of September 11th. I mean, all you have to do is put a thinking cap on, have a critical eye, critical thought, and realize that that was terrorism, that they more than likely knew in advance had nothing to do with the YouTube video. Remember they said that? They tried to throw that bullshit out there with some kind of Innocence of Muslims video or some BS like that, you know, caused the revolt. No, they were running guns. The same guns they want to take away from you, folks. That Hillary Clinton's going to go after with the full force and weight of her administration when she continues the third term of Barack Hussein Obama. That's what's so scary about it. Again, they're running guns, transferring guns into Syria, arming the moderate rebels that still cut people's heads off, but they call them moderate rebels, to overthrow leaders. Not just like Muammar Gaddafi was overthrown and murdered and killed, they want the same thing for Bashar al-Assad in Syria. As a result, I mean, they don't care what the consequences are. They don't care that 500,000 people are dead, men, women, and children. Obama doesn't give a shit when he, you know, sends out more drone strikes than George W. Bush ever did. And he accidentally, you know, drops a, Doctors Without Borders, hospital and it kills children. He doesn't care. They're just casualties of war. But again, they control the narrative. They control the media. They can make you feel however they want to make you feel. It's why Khazar Khan, this guy, and I'll get into more detail in a moment, deleting the site and stuff, he's such a powerful propaganda tool. I mean, I admit, it was powerful. When I watch it, it was absolutely powerful. You watch it, your heart kind of goes out. He lost a son. If his son even did fight, I mean, who knows? That could be a total fabrication. Has anyone dug into that? I mean, there was another veteran that spoke who said something along the lines, he penned a letter to Mr. Khanjob, and said, you know what, your son decided willfully to join the military. And no one forced him to. There wasn't a draft. There wasn't any kind of conscription or anything like that. Your son chose to do that. He essentially chose to sacrifice himself and die. And who voted for that war, by the way? Who voted for that war? By Facebook, if you're tuning in. Who voted for that war? Hillary Rodham Clinton did. Did Donald Trump vote for that war? No. But Hillary Clinton did. Continuation of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. Again, more drone strikes under Barack Obama than George W. Bush ever committed. A fact. Arming terrorists on the ground, funding their operation. Fact. But again, these figures, folks, incredibly powerful tools of propaganda. It kind of reminds me of Pat Tillman. Reminds me of Pat Tillman a little bit, how I even went to some football games. They had his family on the field, and they just used him as a total propaganda tool. Said that Al-Qaeda had taken Pat Tillman out, even though that was total and utter bullshit and a total and utter lie, and it was actually the U.S. military that killed him. But they didn't want you to know that, but they thought it was a convenient narrative to basically, position it that way to the American public so that they would get behind these very unpopular, egregious wars. Politicians do this again and again and again, and people they just can't see it. They honestly just believe what's being propelled by a multi-billion-dollar industry that has more power on the planet than any other single entity, and that is what makes up the media today. It's why it's so powerful and it needs to be challenged. I was watching at the RNC, you probably saw these videos where the young turds, Cenk Uygur, and Alex Jones got into this big publicity stunt, and one of them spit on Alex Jones, and they were yelling back and forth. It was like this big shit show and yelling, and Anna, the other host at the Young Turks or something, started dropping F-bombs and that kind of thing, calling Alex Jones like a fat mother effer and all these things. I mean, she looked so womanly, didn't she? Someone who's even talked about fat shaming in the past. Fat shaming. Kind of have to ask the question, was this a publicity stunt? Or are these just two egotistical, egomaniacal maniacs going after it? I mean, Cenk lost it. He absolutely lost it. It was kind of funny. I mean, I actually thought Alex Jones kind of maintained his composure. Young turds lost it. And I think it's important to think about because there's not a lot of credibility there. And I think it's important that that alternative media, which you're tuning in now, I mean, this is alternative media. There's a reason why it's alternative media television. Again, we coined it first here, folks. We've been doing this nearly 10 years now. It's why it's important that I think the official mainstream bullshit narrative is challenged, that we push the envelope, that we get you to think, to have critical thoughts. But I also think you need to maintain your composure. I mean, you saw this at Freedom Fest. I mean, we had very serious sit-down, amazing interviews with people like Steve Forbes, et cetera, Dinesh D'Souza, et cetera, Rand Paul, these figures. You need to know who your audience is. You have to be a little bit of a chameleon because you want these people to talk to you. You want to be able to ask difficult questions. You want to challenge them, something that we do here, but you also want to be able to go back to these people too. Credibility is a very important thing, and once you lose it, you can never get it back. Again, not to name names, but we've seen countless examples of this in the quote-unquote new media where people they lose their credibility. And it's not a good thing. Again, folks, you get the truth here. You've heard it here first. Of course, the election is rigged. Donald Trump is right about that. It always has been decided. In my humble opinion, I hope I'm wrong. I'll be the first to admit it, and I'll be very excited and thrilled. It's the one thing I hope I'm wrong about, folks, but Donald Trump loses. Hillary Clinton has been selected in 2016. She's a continuation of this regime. Not a government, but a regime. Now, you may have noticed we kind of changed the set today. Okay, we've got our black backdrop here. It's informal. I want to keep it this way. You know, this isn't the mainstream media. I don't have some, billion-dollar, flashy lights behind me. Again, I don't have any teleprompters. It's just a guy from the basement, just like it's always been. People used to make fun, that's from the basement. Yeah, we've grown with your support. We operate out of a studio. It's still the basement, though, folks. We're still competing with multi-billion-dollar institutions, and it's why we need your help. It's why we need you to support our channel on demand. Click the link below, go to our website, click on demand at $4.95 a month, $49.95 a year. Not only do you get all of our content, completely ad and commercial free, uncensored, unfiltered, uncut. You get videos like you won't see on YouTube of Grover Norquist, one of our great interviews that we filmed at Freedom Fest, and others, behind the scenes content, videos that you've never seen, but you all get it first, you all get it there on demand, and it helps us grow, helps support what we're doing so that we can combat these institutions. Expect a lot more here during our live broadcasts every Tuesday and Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific time, 1 to 2 p.m. Arizona time. We'll be conducting interviews in person here in studio and also via Skype. Be bringing people in via monitors, etc. This shit's going to be badass, and we need your support. So please support us. Click the link below or visit our website, amtvmedia.com right now. Also visit our shop at store.amtvmedia.com. Get a shirt. These shirts are awesome. Let me show you. Maybe you just kind of tuned in and you haven't seen these shirts yet, but they're freaking awesome. They've been flying off the shelves. In fact, check out the store. There's so many products here. Many of you don't even know that our store exists. Okay, we've got this shirt, many others, all kinds of survival gear, water filtration products. We've got food storage, really all kinds of things. If there's more that you want to see at the store so that you can support us, let us know. Send us an email at info@amtvmedia.com. Let us know what you want to see at the store. But we've got dozens and dozens of products. At the very least, you can grab a t-shirt. It has a big impact on our platform. So check it out, all kinds of colors, men and women sizes, all the way up from small to triple XL. Check it out. Go to our store right now. I'm Christopher Green. I'm going to take a quick break. You're tuning in, again, of course, to AMTV Live, broadcasting 2 days a week to start, every Tuesday and Thursday, 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific time, 1 to 2 p.m. Arizona time. Stay with us. I'll be back in 5. Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're watching AMTV Live. We're back. We're closing in at the top of the hour. A couple closing words. Final thoughts. Instead of going because we're running out of time, again, thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in. Put your comment question in the boxes below, whether or not it's on Facebook or YouTube. Again, share our broadcasts around the world. I do look at those comments and I do go to them in upcoming videos. Instead of going into all the details, because they've already been discussed in our video that we just put out late last night and has been airing most of today, proof, Khazar Khan, Hillary plant working for the Muslim Brotherhood. Instead of going into the details live on air, just watch the video. There's tons of hardcore evidence, links and sources in the description box. Tells you everything you need to know, the truth about Khazar Khan, this man, a fraud, being used as a puff piece and a manipulation tool of the scumbag that makes up the bitch that is Hillary Rodham Clinton. So check out that video, like it, favorite it, share it everywhere. And again, I mentioned that he had just conveniently within the last 24 hours, I mean, if this is all untrue, why delete your website? I mean, if it's the truth, and you know there is a conspiracy here, then of course you would delete the evidence, which is exactly what he just did. Panic mode is really what Khazar Khan is in right now. Deletes the law firm website that specialized in Muslim immigration. Again, if he didn't have anything to hide, he would just keep the site up. But he didn't. They took it down, or maybe Hillary Clinton took it down. Maybe it's something that they overlooked. Khazar Khan, the Muslim Gold Star father that Democrats and their allies media-wide have been using to hammer GOP presidential nominee Donald Trump, has deleted his law firm's website from the internet. And again, we'll put the link, if you can't already see it above the screen. I think it just goes to a GoDaddy page. But anyways, it's been deleted. This is according to not just Breitbart, but many other sources. Also wanted to mention that if Russian intelligence did hack the DNC that brought down Debbie Wasserman, wouldn't the NSA know about it? And again, the whole idea that Hillary Clinton was able to delete her emails is just a total illusion in and of itself. Because the NSA could, of course, the National Spying Agency could, of course, dig that up. It's an absolute fraud to think that not everything and every piece of communication and every article is not recorded by the vast surveillance state that makes up this George Orwell experience in America today. Again, expect a lot more in coming live broadcasts, again, airing every Tuesday and Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific time, 1 to 2 p.m. Arizona time. We'll be having guests. I'd like to hear from you. Who would you like on the show? Many of the people we interviewed at Freedom Fest we'll be having on. What would you like to see? Who would you like to hear from? Also like a little feedback. I rarely ask for it, but I'd like to know, what would you like to see more here on this live cast, on YouTube and Facebook, and of course, on demand? What can we do better to make it a better show, a better experience for you? And again, I just want to wholeheartedly thank you for everything that you guys do, because I would not be here in the underground without you. And God willing, the support of a much higher power. So thank you so much for what you do. Please continue to share all of our content around the world. Subscribe on demand. And if you haven't already, visit our store at store.amtvmedia.com or amtvmedia.com and buy a t-shirt. As always, I'm Christopher Green, hard-hitting and in your face. You've been watching AMTV, Alternative Media Television. Peace.